Okay, I think it's recording. Hello. Hope everyone's warm, safe, all that stuff. I want to keep this pretty short. We're moving into the next. Hello, Danny. Yes. Yes. Hello. We're moving into kind of the next phase of the research project, which is the research itself. We've got at least one more draft to go of the grant proposal, but the idea here is the idea is we're going to do some research, and hopefully this will give us more knowledge about our topics, and then we'll use the things that we're learning at a certain point in researching these sources to kind of feed back into our grant proposal to kind of flesh it out, to talk about preliminary research that you're doing to kind of sharpen up your discussion. So if you're still not happy with your grant proposal, that's okay. Hopefully you have an idea of what you don't know, because a lot of the time the issue with writing is you don't know what you don't know, right? And you don't really realize the gaps in your knowledge until you're having to put together thoughts, put together a piece of writing about something. And so hopefully you kind of have an idea of what you don't know. And that's one of the things I'm going to be looking at as I start commenting on you guys' proposals, is where your gaps are, where you're kind of making claims that you need to support and stuff like that. And so once you get those comments, hopefully that will help you kind of sharpen your research process. But the way I kind of have, I don't like to just send you guys out into the ether researching. I have a kind of technique or process or whatever that I teach that hopefully will help. And so your assignment for Wednesday to start off all of this this research process is to gather 30 sources. That sounds terrifying, but wait, there's more. You don't have to open up any of these sources. What I want you to do is find 30 essentially titles, study titles, article titles, and just gather them. The idea here is to cast a really wide net. And I've said that several times so far. But what does that really mean? It means kind of skimming over the surface of things and just kind of taking a pulse of conversation, see what are people talking about in the most general sense? What are people writing about in the most general sense, which you can usually find in just the titles. You can find a lot in a title. Or I feel like our, I say our generation, I guess your generation, since I don't know how that shit works. Anyway, we've gotten really good at gleaning information really quickly from titles and stuff like that. And so I want you to practice that and get really good at it, because the whole process of hoping to teach you is how to cut corners the right way, because we're going to cut corners. We're going to follow the path of least resistance. It's just what humans do. And we've gotten really good at it, figuring out how to work smarter, not harder. And so hopefully I can help you guys do that. But it starts off by casting this really wide net. And for us, it's going to be gathering 30 sources. Now I want to go over some skills. Some of it will kind of be refreshed from stuff earlier in the semester that will hopefully help with this. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. I'm going to try to keep this really short, maybe 10 more minutes. Confounded. I think I just paused the recording. Share screen. Hope this works. Okay, here we go. So you have two options. One, you can use databases, and this will be really helpful for a lot of you, especially in the sciences. It's going to be really useful for studies, right? Things that are being published in journals, because that's what these databases are, right? They're these collections of journals and stuff like that. But for some of us, that might not work. Some of us might be looking at topics that are more informal, right? They're less academic, and so you're not going to find in those, really rigorous academic channels. And so I want to kind of give an option for those of you who take a look at databases and that's not quite working for you. You're not really finding a lot of cool stuff. And I do want you to find some stuff from database. I want everyone to dive into some databases, use some database skills that I'm going to go over today, and see what you can find. And remember, a lot of the creativity of a research project goes into figuring out how do you quantify something? How do you turn something into a number? If you're looking at something rather intangible that there's not a direct number for, how can you represent an idea in a number? How do you represent an idea in a study? But again, that might not work really well for everyone. So first I want to go over following paper trails. And then we can refresh on the database stuff. Since I've already done a database workshop, sort of, I want to do this first, and then we can go and do a refresh on the database stuff. So Wikipedia is, for me, the best place to start. It's where I always kind of start, especially if I'm looking at something I don't know a lot about. I'll hop onto Wikipedia and start surfing around. So I call it following paper trails. I don't know if that's the technical word for it. With everything being digital, paper doesn't really work, but that's what I'm gonna call it. So I'm just going to pick something I've been interested in lately, which is Hegelian dialectics. If anyone's anyway, it doesn't matter. So let's do Hegel. Is a philosopher, right? And I'm looking for a specific concept of his, but I want to start really broad, as broad as I can go, because you don't know what you don't know, right? There might be other elements of, even though I'm really interested in this specific part of Hegel's philosophy, there might be other interesting ideas he had that kind of illuminate that idea or give context to that idea, or kind of companion ideas, right? And so you might find that, especially in the sciences, you might be looking at one field or one idea, or one theory or something, but it will likely have like companion ideas and companion theories. Anyway, so usually what I want to do is look at the contents and see kind of how are they dividing things? How are they dividing this subject matter? If you're looking at a person, it's going to be, you're always going to get their life and then their work, and then other stuff after that, depending on kind of what's going on. So let's see, philosophical work, let's do progress. I'm pretty sure another thing you can do, if you're looking for something specific, you can hit Control F, right? And I can do dialectic, and then I can skim through and find all the places that it's talking about it. So just to be really quick, I don't want to be doing this all day. What I want to do is I want to skim through, I'm looking at dialectic, and I want to look for a time in which dialecticism has a note like here. So I can follow this. It was 115. And follow this link and see if I get anything. Okay, so I've got a book here. It's interesting. No thanks. This is paywall, but what I can do now, Hegel and language, copy this, and then what I can do is I can pop over to a database like JSTOR, which is really useful for humanities, and I can copy that in. Is that the same author? Yep. So this is a review of it. Let's do book chapters. So let's do books. And let's get rid of chapters. So we're getting some database skills using these filters over here. So let's type in server. See if we get anything there. Here. So this is a book review. So that's not quite what I'm interested in. I feel like this is eating a lot of time that is unnecessary. You get the idea though, right? So you follow the trail, and likely down here, it's going to take you to a database you don't have access to. But what you can do is then copy where it takes you into a database that is good for you, and then search for it there. And then what you would do in theory, let's just say this is what I'm really looking for. Now you're in a good academic source, right? And what you can do is try to find a table of contents, or sorry, a references page. This only has 20 pages. So you click through, and this is in Chicago style. So you actually have a lot of stuff down here, citations and stuff like that. So you can just kind of skim through here and be like, oh, that looks really interesting. And then follow that. So this is how you can use Wikipedia to get into databases without having to go into the database and just typing in keywords and having to filter through and all of that stuff. If that's not something that you enjoy, I really enjoy filtering. I think that's a fun thing to do, but maybe that's weird. So this is a way to get to more specific stuff. So that's one thing you can do. You can use the Control F, search for specific terms in the Wikipedia, and then look for reference notes connected to it. And then obviously what you can do is look for it and then go to the actual Wikipedia page, which is going to be a lot more specific. Right. Oh, this is cool. This is all the times that it's referenced. Yeah, and so you can see here you've got citations and stuff like that. So hopefully that's helpful. Right, so that's one thing to do. And again, what we're looking for here is just article titles. We're just looking for you to gather 30 sources. How do you do this? Like, where does it go? So I want for you to go into your drive and do a new document. Title it research process. I want for you to copy all of your sources here. So start with an asterisk and then space, and it'll make a nice, neat bullet pointed list, like so. And then what you can do a couple different things. One thing that you can do, find it back to results. As you're skimming through, some give you the option to save. You can save these sources. You have to make an account. You can register with your Google account, which you already have. Your A-State email is a Google account. So you can do that if you want, and it'll actually save it in there. But be careful, because sometimes if you're not on campus logged into your A-State account, it won't let you log in. So kind of be careful with that. Some students have to deal with that, some don't. So that's one thing you do, have it actually saved in there. But I would prefer for you to, you got this here, and then what you can do is just copy the link. And here's actually what I would like for you to do. Hopefully this is a useful skill as well. This bar gets in the way. So it would be the title of it, Hegel's speculative sentence. Right, so that's the name of the journal article. And then, so that's the title of it. And then take the link, copy the link, but don't copy the link into the doc, because it looks really messy. Instead, highlight this, and then there's this button here called insert link, or you can right click on it and go to link. And then you paste the link into this, and then you hit apply, which will make this a hyperlink. So you can actually click this and it brings you to it. So that way your document looks nice and clean. And then if you decide, oh, that's what I'm actually interested in, as we go, because the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your 30 sources and you're going to cut them down to 15. And that way you can kind of see, is this really interesting? Because the next thing you're going to do is take your 30 sources and skim their abstracts to see what's useful. Actually, I think the next thing we do is we create keywords. There's another assignment, but at some point you're gonna have to open these up. And so being able to just click on them is really nice. Right, any questions? Okay, obviously if you have questions, email me. And then we've already kind of done it a little bit, but if you want to, instead of going that route, following paper trails and what have you, You can just do this. You just go into the databases, the 1 or 2 or 3 that you've found are useful for people in your field, and just use keywords. Remember, we have the Boolean phrasing, so and or not. So I can do keyword Tolkien, but then I can do not Lord of the Rings. Then I can add a search box, or I can do not Hobbit. He did other stuff. Did you know? And then I want only articles. Research reports too would be cool. And then all of these tags. These are super big fields. Once you actually get into the search, you'll have a lot more of these. But these might be some things that could be, potentially interesting. Did that do that in real time? Interesting. I have no idea. Anyway. All right. So I've got it here, right? Almost 3,000 results. That's still too many. And then I can go down here and start kind of narrowing down by subject, ecology. That seems really cool. And be looking for angles, right? Be looking for ways to make your topic more interesting, especially if your topic is still on the broad side. Finding interesting, seemingly unrelated, which here doesn't look like we're getting good stuff, but seemingly unrelated terms, and be like, okay, how do those terms interact with one another? You might find something really interesting, and that's where a lot of really great research comes from, is taking two things that seem unrelated and then kind of mashing them together and seeing what you get. Art is the same way, and there's an art to research, and there's an underlying kind of structure, and that's creativity. And yeah, so that helps a lot. So kind of going through here, and don't look for the obvious ones, look for the non-obvious ones, and try to find a blend, things that have a strong synergy naturally, right? If I were doing Tolkien and did like British studies or something, right? But then also looking for something interesting that I'm really interested in, like ecology or something like that, things that I think are cool, but doesn't seem to naturally synergize, and then see if that takes you somewhere cool. Folklore, I think that there's a pretty natural synergy there. Yeah, I kind of play around. There's a lot more kind of options. Yeah. So how long are we running now? Again, do it in a doc. I want 30 sources. More if you want. We'll be cutting it down. We'll be cutting in half for the next assignment, but for now, 30 sources, and don't see it as just rushing to find 30 sources. This is all about giving you a chance to kind of freely research and gather a bunch of just kind of random things, random sources, not purely random, obviously, but to just kind of be able to, again, I keep saying it, cast that wide net, see what all's going on, see what all's out there, and kind of critically skim, right? Skim, not just to look for, is this basically relevant so I can just check another box, but what is this saying? And just be engaged, right? Again, this is really important work that you're doing, and is going to set you up for future success, because it's not only about writing a research paper, because that's obviously going to help you a lot, because you're going to be doing that a lot in your fellow courses, but this is giving you a chance to kind of see what's going on in your field, see what all is out there. And your fields are so dynamic and so interesting. Biology is so much more than biology. Law is so much more than law. There's so much just incredible things, people doing really interesting work out there. And there's a reason you are magnetized by your field, right? A lot of that's going to be the money you hope to make with your field, right? But all fields make all variations of money. There's a reason you chose the field that you've chosen. So explore it, use this as a chance to kindle a passion, and find a way to give a damn about the work that you want to do with your life, which is really hard. This is a world that's really hard to have a give a damn in. And so hopefully this will give you a chance to kind of rekindle some of that kind of childlike wonder of the world is so cool, all this really interesting stuff. Hopefully this is a chance for you to do that. And yeah, I hope you take advantage of that. If not, if you want to just find 30 sources that just check 30 boxes and be done with it, that's your prerogative. And I'm not going to hold you back from that, but this is an opportunity to look into some cool stuff. If you have any questions, email me again for Wednesday, 30 sources. And then we're going to kind of go from there. And at a certain point in this process, we're going to kind of break it down, take what we've learned from our sources and apply it to our grant proposal to improve it. And then we'll be transitioning from there into the research paper itself. Yeah. Okay. So stop share. Again, if you have any questions, email me. 30 sources by Wednesday. Goodbye.